morning, everyone. All the participants, please be seated. Make sure that your mobile phones are kept on silent mode. Once again, good morning. I, Dr. Poonam Mirwani, Head of Department of BMS, welcome you all to one-day National Conclave on Future of Higher Education in India with special reference to employability, organized by BMS Department of VSIT School of Information Technology in association with Confederation of Indian Industry. It is said that only divine will and love bestow the keys of knowledge, and thus we shall now invoke blessings of Goddess Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom and knowledge on this auspicious occasion. I request everyone to rise for Saraswati Vandana.
या वीणा वरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेत पद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युतशङ्कर प्रभृतिभिर्देवैः सदा वन्दिता भगवती निःशेष जाड्यापहा.
Please be seated. Education and industry has often been touted as complementary to and distinct from each other. Courses that are certified as professionals are perceived as popular option in opposition to courses that focus on knowledge over skills. Higher education today in India faces diverging paths of intention, knowledge and skill or knowledge or skill. Irrespective of the conflict in terms of functional nature, higher education in India has identified the gap that exists between academic curriculum and actual corporate employment. At Vidyalankar, we always focus on holistic development of students and strive to make them better global citizens. The Department of BMS is a quintessential department which aims to provide the holistic education with practical exposure to management students. One of the key initiatives of BMS department is Enactors, profoundly known as the Management Club of VSIT, which is the hosting team of this event. All our volunteers today are dedicated members of Enactors. We have a department YouTube channel, Knowledge Bites. Interested students make videos on modern day issues in the field of finance, HR, marketing and general management. And they post those videos on the channel. It acts as an effective platform for the students to enhance their knowledge and showcase it. Let us have a look at teaser of an upcoming video.
You are not alone. In this video, we are not only going to answer these questions, but also discuss the most efficient way to reduce the dominance and impact of dollar on all other economies called de-dollarization. Hey guys, this is Bhavin Baheti, member of Enactors, the Management Club of VSIT. Welcome back to our YouTube channel with a refreshing video on the topic of de-dollarization.
The World Bank notes that India possesses a highly developed higher education system, which offers facility of education and training in almost all aspects of human creative and intellectual endeavors. Higher education has only expanded over the years, and initiatives to boost higher education is constantly pursued. The association between skill-oriented training and educational institutes, if they must be understood as distinct, is also indicative of progressive higher education. As an institute of higher education that ceaselessly endeavors to enable students to become both autonomous learners and employable, Vidyalanka School of Information Technology has organized this one-day National Conclave. The objectives of this conclave are to keep abreast with current and changing scenario in higher education in India, bridge the gap between industry and academia expectations, reinforce the link between industry and academia for employability, provide a platform for networking amongst industry and academia resources. Today's target audiences are management students and academicians. The expected outcome of the conclave is inclusive of holistic comprehension of current situation of higher education and paradigm shift. With this, I now invite Dr. Rohini Kelkar to address the gathering.
Good morning, one and all, and welcome to this green campus of Vidyalankar. I am especially very happy to welcome all my management department students who have gathered here on this Saturday, and though it was very heavily raining in the morning. So that shows how relevant, how important is the topic of discussion which we are going to have today. Everyone is speaking about the NEP new education policy, and as as higher institution, it is our responsibility to make the students aware of what this new education policy is and how it is going to impact the entire academic life of the student over next few years. I'm really thankful to CII to have all these dignitaries here on Vidyalankar campus. I'm sure all of you together would not have been possible without the help of CII. So I thank the CII authorities for making such great experts available for our students. VSIT, the Vidyalankar School of Information Technology, is just one of the colleges on this campus. This campus has 3 colleges. Our first college is Engineering College, which is known as VIT, Vidyalankar Institute of Technology. Then we have Vidyalankar Polytechnics, where we have all diploma courses. And the third college is our own college, VSIT, which has variety of courses. So though the name suggests it is VSIT, but still we have management, we have accounts, we have mass media, and all these variety of courses are there in this college. And therefore, let me tell you, the experts today, we are having about 3 to 4 different programs simultaneously happening. And that's the reason I got a little late over here, because one program is on film appreciation, which is happening in one of the seminars. Another program, IT related program, where TCS people are, addressing the IT students. So such programs are happening on Saturdays. So Saturdays we have mainly meant for all these extracurricular activities for the students. And I'm really happy to tell you, sirs and madams, that though they do not have lectures today, okay, they do come and attend these programs with the fresh mind. And behind them is the team of the HOD, Dr. Poonam, and a very enthusiastic management department, the teachers. and because of that we see that today this function is happening. So without taking much time of yours, let us meet and have an interaction with our guests for the day. But please understand the importance of having the interaction with industry, because at the end of the day we all are here for getting a good job. Okay, ultimate objective of everybody is getting a good job, whether you want a job immediately after your graduation or you want to have a job after post graduation. So some of you may have a difference in that, but ultimately we all want to have a job of our own choice, job which will give us the satisfaction. And we at Vidyalankar will try to give lot of opportunities before you to understand what kind of what is the requirement of industry, what is the requirement of now this new educational policy, what kind of skills are required for you people to have. And we, along with our management, will try to prepare you to enter very successfully in the job market. So with this word, I wish you all the best to have the best maybe 2.5 hours discussion with all our experts. And I once again thank all of you to be here on Sunday morning. Thank you.
I would like to request Dr. Mohan Rao, sir, and Mr. K. Nandakumar, sir, to please come on the podium as well. Education is the movement from darkness to light. A very good morning to all of you present here. I am Corina D'Souza, Assistant Professor at VSIT, BMS Department. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all here. And I feel so privileged to be present here to introduce the very I feel so privileged to be here introducing the dignitaries. Our first dignitary, the chief guest for this one-day National Conclave on future of higher education in India with special reference to employability, is Dr. Mohan B. Rao. Dr. Mohan B. Rao has completed his postgraduate diploma in business management from XLRI Jamshedpur and his PhD in management studies from KG Somaya Institute of Management. Sir has a working experience of more than 25 years. He started his career in Godrej and Boyce as a general manager, has worked as a chief executive officer at Datamatics Limited, was a vice president at Dishnet DSL Limited. He is an associate dean at IES Management College and Research Center. Since 2014, he has been a part of Education Task Force CII Western Region and the Education Committee. Sir is a co-chairman at FAA IMC Chambers of Commerce and Industry and a chairman at Corporate Relations Committee. Sir is well knowledgeable in areas like business strategy, business development, marketing strategy, team management, and much, much more. I would now request our principal, Dr. Rohini Kelkar, ma'am, to welcome Dr. Mohan B. Rao with a bouquet of flowers. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. I would now request sir to share his expertise.
This is a scrap of my granddaughter, so I wrote behind that. Good morning to you all, and thank you for the lovely introduction. It's been well compiled by you. Thank you so much. And welcome, Principal, for your very inspiring words. And good morning, namaste to all the students. Yes. Can we start? I don't see a loud yes. Can we start? Yes. The backbenchers are still waking up, I guess. No issue. So, very interesting. We are all into, Madam talked about NEP, National Education Policy. How many of you have read NEP 2020? Very interesting. So, I would request you to sensitize the students on NEP also. So, NEP appears to be like, you know, the, like your, sorry? Yeah. Don't worry, I'm used to hands-free. Yeah, so NEP, in fact, most of us think it's like a menu of Domino's or McDonald's and all that. It's quite different. It's, in fact, if you go through it and use, I mean, it's for you to take the advantage of it. But then, even if you've not read NEP, the very interesting quote that I got today morning, it says, literacy makes a man a victim of advertising. Literacy makes a man victim of advertising. Education makes him victim of employment. Right. So all of us look at education to get employed. And that's what this, today, all the top luminaries from education and industry will be addressing you and the challenges of that higher education. Right. So when you look at education in the current mode that we have, right, and particularly over the last 70 to 100 years, the way it has gone, I think all of us are looking at employment. And again, employment, we look at in terms of company or industry. There's so many other ways to get employed. There's so many other ways to be, you know, useful for these. So the whole thing is, what is education all about, right? And where are we to attract? So today, the way we look at education is not in isolation. It is part of your sanskar. You know what sanskar? Anybody can get back? Yes, backbenchers. Sanskar. What is sanskar? Have you heard of this word, or it's some music to you? It can be loud. You got a mic, it can be loud enough.
Manners. They are saying manners.
Panels.
Manners.
Manners is your morals, you know. Sanskar. You derive values from sanskar. What is sanskar? Yeah. Upbringing. What is upbringing for? See, the good news for all of you is that you're not an industry audience, you know. I am used to this platform of teaching, you know, and it's more of exchange. I don't like to be on a stage like this, which is at a higher level than what you are, you know. Let me down. Yes, come on. What is sanskar? What is upbringing? Upbringing for good life. Good life. What do you mean, good life? Very good. How many of you have attended the workshops of AICT? The evening workshops? None of you? Anyway, fair enough.
We are not a part of AICT.
As a Vidyalankar, you're part of, no? Okay.
Our college is UGC
Right. Now UGC AICT is together.
Yeah, they are going to
From 10th of April 2022. Right. So, there's another hat I have. Yes, go ahead. Anything of sanskar, I'll come to that. It is sanskar is a commitment and a preparation for right living. So all that we derive from our father, grandfather, grandmother, papa, mama, jamma, all these people at the back who come down, right? Like when you walk in and you stand up, when you stood up for the Saraswati Vandana, that's your sanskar. Right? We don't stand up as a matter of, okay? So there are certain things you go on. And ultimately it is for what? All your family, your parents, your relatives, your society around you, all of them want you to pick up the right skills and technology. That's sanskar. Okay, so when you take education sanskar together, what does it mean? I'm taking on a different subject. I don't want to, talk about what they'll talk about. I'm taking a different subject altogether. But I'll lead you to that, right? So this entire role of education is to ensure that your sanskar helps you to be a good human being in the world. Right? Ultimately, when you have the right living, when you pick up the right skill technology, right, it means that you're relevant to the society outside. Okay. So here I recap my own life for you. Not that it is too old, right? The good news for all of you, this grey hair is from 9th standard. Right? So I'm as young as you are. Right? So when I went on to do electrical engineering from BITS Pilani, I had 4 choices with me. One was to do engineering, second was to do architecture, third was science, and fourth was maths, and fourth was physics. And looking at the way I love to be with machines, right? Those days mechanical engineering used to be a more, there was a fad those days. So looking at my aptitude and all that, family felt he's a good engineer. And architecture is a very new field those days, years back. Civil engineering was more dominant. So they said, you go for engineering. And you love it. Right? You love it. So when I did the engineering there, that's a different story altogether. Because you'll be happy to know for 3 years, I did not know whether I become an engineer or not. It was a very different scheme in BITS Pilani. On the 3rd year when I became an electrical engineer, I started doing the studies on that. When I used to come back on vacation or the period to back home to Delhi, right, I was very useful to my house, right? Bulb change karna hai, mohan aa gaya hai, bulb change kara do. Apna wo, that time we had no geyser and all that. We used to have that electric heater, I don't know, you put in the water. So that used to go pat very often because pani गिर जाएगा फट हो जाएगा ना वो. तो उसको रिपेयर करने मोहन आ गया है. So I used to have a lot of those electric heaters to repair. इसको busy रखो ना काम रखने धंधे में, right? But I was also used for society. I was in a government colony. When the whole light used to go off, they used to call me. मोहन आ गया आज, उसको पूछो लाइट कैसे आएगा रात को. And we know the tricks, no? Daily electricity supply removes some part, but we know where to get it from. We learn all the trades, right? I'm sure you must be doing all that in your home. So मोहन को बुलाओ, light आ जाएगा. So what am I trying to give a message? That doing electrical engineering was not only I love to do it, right? But my family used to be useful with it, and my society around also felt usefulness of my engineering. So what does it mean? So whatever we do, whatever education we do, if you're going to have employability, if you're going to be victim of employment, then you're going to be in the same hole that the 1 billion people are in. मैं क्यों पढ़ रहा हूँ? For employment. But if you do it for the passion of it, and what does the passion mean? It not only helps you, but helps your family and your society around. Whatever you do, whether you're doing BMS or accounts or whatever you do. And I've seen that many of my friends, right, when they did the accounting, they did the CA, they used to manage the entire home budget and see that savings are going the right place. Because if you all know, you're all inherited $1 trillion economy from Narendra Modi, right? But we used to get wheat from Australia under PL 480 scheme. We never could get wheat in open supply. So we had to keep budgets. Whatever money come from our father saved, budgets. So my friends would teach me how to save money, how to use the money properly. So we are all learning from each other. Each of us is useful to each other. And I'm not confabulating story at all to you. It's a true story of how we came up. So whatever we do is relevance to it. So education that you are doing has to ultimately make you a good human being. The human being has to be useful to all of us. Right? The current education that we are all talking about is only skills. You're just killing yourself. So I want to ask a question to you. Anybody can run up. What do you want to be? Come on. I'm used to normally a hands-free mic. Yes. What do you want to be? Behind the podium, I get very psyched, Yes. Anybody can answer. What do you want to be? क्या बनना है? Yes, बोलो. With your name.
So my name is Ayush Kasam and I really want to be an entrepreneur.
Entrepreneur. Why?
Because I love business.
Why do you love business?
Money.
You want money? You're doing entrepreneur with money. After that, after you get money,
Yeah.
how much money you want to make?
For example, if we have
Money is for yourself first,
Yeah,
right?
yes, obviously.
Then the rest.
Then the rest.
Good. Anybody else? So what are you doing for that?
Sir, I'm learning currently the
That is
management.
scaling. But what do you want to do?
Yeah. So I really want to start my own startup.
Startup.
Yeah.
Why come here?
You know, sir, family.
Family tells you education करना है.
Yeah, first education, get your degree and do whatever you want.
Then you want to do. Why education?
Because it's important for the society.
You should join a bachelor of entrepreneurial skills course now. Why join BMS?
Because at
I'm asking you only questions. You don't have an answer for everything. Yes, you. Yes. Anybody else? What do you want to be? You got challenged by the question I asked everything. Don't worry. Feel free. I hope I'm audible.
yes.
You can hear me at the back? Thank you so much. Yes. Anybody else? Right. So the issue is that do you do education for making money? Or do you see where the end is? What do you do after the money? Right? Do you see a gap? Do you see a gap? Don't see a gap. Right? So that's why we say, from the point of view of values, right? Education has to bring right understanding in you. What does right understanding mean? That whatever I do, whatever you do, should be useful to you, to your family, to society and nature outside. Today you see a current problem. India is the most literate country in the world. Right? What about corruption? What about corruption? What about the fact that we are having so much of energy problems? Look at the transportation. Look at the jam, traffic jam. You want to be an entrepreneur. Can you solve the traffic jam in your Vadala? Can you solve that? As an entrepreneur? Why don't you do it?
If you work on that project.
Hello.
Why don't you work on it? And make money. Useful to all of us, right? Look at how much petrol we are wasting. Right? No literacy, right? Education, right? All of us literate. Look at Kerala, 93% level of literacy. Look at Maharashtra, 68% level of literacy. What are we doing with that? Make sense? So if you are able to make education, you're also making my hands tight. Hello. Hello. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, so education, right? All of you, it's the responsibility not of the industry, but you, particularly you, right? Look at education in terms of right understanding. Right? Are we getting the usefulness of education to ourselves only, or are we looking at the family, looking at the society? Now he said, I am pushed to do education because of my family. Honestly, he is not interested to do education. He wants to do a startup. And today's times allows it also. I don't know how many of you know Reliance Retail, about a few years back, the CEO was a fish cutter with only a 5th grade pass from UK, English, employed by Mukesh Ambani. Right? He just got educated till 5th standard. But this sanskar is coming on with him. Has got so many things that he got associated. He was burning to start doing business. Right? But he didn't leave education aside. He did his whatever he wants to do to develop himself, be current to the world, which became the CEO of Reliance Retail. Right? You can't become CEO by a fish cutter, can you? You cannot. Obviously, you're educating yourself. So education has got, so a right understanding if you get, and the right feelings towards it. See, you would have also right feelings, and ultimately your right skills. Your skills comes way down in terms of priority in our mindset. So I'm just agitating you guys because I believe that we should ignite you people. We do have a good panel discussion. I don't want to get into their forte of what is higher education all about. But we need to get relevant into our current context, right? Of where we need to correct ourselves. And unless you correct now, you can't correct later on. Okay, so this students' workshop that are being done by ICT, all of you can join in. It's not only by ICT, by UGC also. Right? It's a separate subject altogether. Right? So let me just come to the few points before I conclude. I think I've gone over my time, but I'm not really sure about that. So this education ultimately has to lead you to self-discipline. You're coming on time, making the function start on time. It's not the onus of the organizers, also your onus. Right? So this education should ultimately not make you disciplined, but self-disciplined. Of being on time, starting on time, doing things in a manner which is acceptable to everybody around you. That shows the self-discipline in you. So, my personal request to all of you is, students, right, is that agitate yourself, do exploration, think about what I told you, right, in terms of what you want to be, what you want to do. You're doing something, but is it what you want to be? Does it help you to do that? Then the relevance is there. So you will not fall a victim of employment. All of us looking at employment only in companies. If you look at the rural market, just last week I was there, in Nirma Anand, right? The rural market offers for MBAs, not just people who are skilled in rural management, MBAs is close to 6.5 lakh jobs. And they pay you that salary that you get in Aptech and all these companies. They pay you the salaries. But are you going to go there and work there? And that makes usefulness for our country. So your education policy talks about how you can become a full human potential. You've got tremendous potential. What's your name you say? Ayush. And your name is also right. Right? You've got tremendous potential. And you got to understand, you've got to be working towards an equitable and just society. And more important to the nation development. If I get employed in Godrej or Aptech or anywhere, ultimately I should be useful for my country. Right? All the Americans, what are they proud of? America. Are they proud of working for Apple? No, I'm an American. Why can't we be true Indian? We work for Indian companies and be proud for development for our country than for the company. Okay, so there are some sayings, I don't know if you have read the saying of Abdul Kalam, so just conclude with that. Love your job, not your company. Right? Your company may leave you, then what happens to you? Right? So you have to love your passion. So what you would want to do with a passion, and the company sees that and uses your potential to be useful for them and you from the point of the country. So I'm agitating your minds. I'm putting a lot of questions in your mind. I don't think there's any time for question and answer. But I urge the institution also, Vidya Lankar, the way they started their journey. I know how we are all coaching classes and how they have graduated and come up to the stage. Please make your institution where the students, the alumni, the parents, the society, and their neighborhood, right, all feel that the institution is working for them. Then it becomes useful. Then it becomes that all of us are playing a role in national development. I'm not a politician. I'm an educationist. Last 20 years, I've struggled to make students realize their potential in terms of not looking for a job, but being employable. Employable doesn't mean you get a job. That's a skill you acquire. Thank you so much, and sorry for having extended time.
Thank you, Dr. Mohan B. Rao, for forcing us to think differently, sir. Our next dignitary is the guest of honor, Mr. K. Nandakumar. Mr. K. Nandakumar, sir, is the founder and managing director of the Chemtrolls Group. Started in 1975, Chemtrolls is India's leading solution provider for chemical and hydrocarbon processing industries and thermal and nuclear power plants. A chemical engineer with specialization in petroleum refining from University of Kerala in the year 1970, Mr. Nandakumar worked with Cochin Refineries and FACT before embarking on his entrepreneurial venture, Chemtrolls. In his highly successful career spanning nearly 5 decades, he has worked in functions as diverse as refinery operations, process engineering, project management, sales, marketing, strategic planning, business development, finance, and corporate management. His passion for sustainable development enables Chemtrolls enhancing its contribution towards making India Atma Nirbhar in global value chain. Mr. Nandakumar was awarded doctorate in business project management by European Continental University in the year 2017. He's achieved the Lifetime Award in Process Automation bestowed by Instrumentation Experts Club 2017. He was awarded Business Leader of the Year 2015 by Chemtech CEW Leadership and Excellence Award. I would now request our principal, Dr. Rohini Kelkar ma'am, to welcome Mr. Nandakumar with a bouquet of flowers. Thank you, ma'am. I now request sir to share his expertise.
Good morning to all of you. Good morning, Dr. Rohini Kelkar, Dr. Mohan Rao. Before I start my thought process on talking, two very important subjects came up here today. One is Dr. Mohan Rao did ask all of you, after or why did you join? What are your expectations of the employment or expectations of the education? My factory is in Goa, and the chief of Goa operations' daughter got an admission into an engineering college in Pune, and he asked me to wish her. So I just wanted to read it out, what I did wish to her. May God Almighty bless her to excel in her studies, to serve humanity through the knowledge and wisdom she embraces in her studies and endeavors all she adorns after that. Dr. Mohan Rao subsequently has explained you, the education is to serve the humanity, to serve the society. In today's world, if you really look in, with 1.3 by 1.35 billion people in India, nearly 60% of the people below the age of 35 looking for employment, and below around 20% below the poverty line. We have a great challenge to ensure that our society, our children, our grandchildren live up to expectations of our then society, which is coming in. When I say this society, being active in various industry associations, I too had one query came from, in fact, CIA, National Council, around 2 weeks back. What you would like to see India in 2047? So I was just thinking of what I would like India to be. Went through all my data and found, yes, if I need to look at 1.35 billion people's sustainable growth, I could only think of, well, it's a very ambitious target I put. Per capita income should be US dollar 10,000. With 1.35 billion people population remaining same in 2047. It will certainly change, it has got trends. And when I made a study of that if per capita income, which is nothing but $1,800 today, to make it $10,000 by 2047 with a population of 1.35 billion people, and today's GDP of around $2.2 trillion, what could be our GDP by 2047? It's easy for me to make $10,000 as a per capita by 2047. When I made a real calculation from $2.2 trillion to something around $42 trillion we need by 2047 in order to have $10,000 per capita income. And that accounts for our 22% year-on-year growth of our GDP. It's a big challenge. And that's where we have to certainly account for. The other subject which I would like to talk, the first, there was a film on de-dollarization. I really appreciate that subject, de-dollarization. And it's the most challenging task. And world over, a lot of people have tried it out in the past, not succeeded, and still continue trying. We must look at what is the de-dollarization in this coming in. 74% of the global transaction today is in dollar. 74% of the global transaction is in dollar. And we are looking that we need to have de-dollarization. It's a very ambitious challenge. As I said, it's $10,000 should be the GDP challenge. You need to work it out, and we need to go there. But at the same time, we must also look at the global transaction per day is over $50 trillion is the global transaction. And in that, only 6% is the structured transaction. 94% is unstructured transaction. That 94% of the unstructured transactions also will account for de-dollarization coming. So these two subjects, which I learned, or which my attention was attracted, I must say, compliments to Vidyalangan. Thank you very much. I must certainly also look at it. It has been a great challenge. And this has been, I would say, after graduating in chemical engineering, this is now nearly completed 52 years. And when I go back to my school education also, we also look at various aspects of those challenges which we had. It's all academic curriculum. There is nothing much what we know as vocational courses or anything. It's all challenges. But when I was studying in my schooling days, it was prior to reorganization of the states. There was no statehood was there. It was individual states, I would say, primary areas of this. But have you ever come across, known that when you have closed 10th standard, there was after primary, before you go into upper primary, there was a class known as 4.5. Have anyone knows that there was a class known as 4.5? You complete 4 years, you don't straight away go to 5th standard. You go into 4.5. What is the purpose of that 4.5? In order to ensure that you are getting at least stabilized on what you have learned, because it is only curriculum which you have done academic. At that process, because I must say during that time it was also education was very well structured, very well organized, even with all the limitations in this. When I looked at that, it is true that the first 4 years you learn only very little of appreciation of what individual boys or individual girls thought process, whether he has got inquisitiveness to know more, or whether his talent for practical, it was not there. But that half year, that is 1 year, certainly gives one as well as the teacher to get into. Then goes into primary, another upper primary, which is another 3 years, you say around 5, 6, 7. Then comes higher secondary, 8, 9, 10. All these are all theoretical classes. But I believe sometime in 1964, some changes has taken. Of course, there were changes in the education policy. In 1958, there was changes. And this 4.5, that program is eliminated. And in somewhere around 1964, the pre-university, which was 1 year, is also changed to a 2-year course, and then became 4-year engineering course, which was 5-year courses. But even then, even also engineering, also there was very little of practical. But I must say, depending upon the colleges, depending upon the curricula, because it is controlled by ICT, but still there was freedom for colleges to look at how a vocational course could be done. When I was studying my engineering in the first year, by academic instance, before that me, a lady by name Manjari, she was just before me. I must compliment, even today I remember, because if I take 1.5 hours to complete a practical course, she completes in half an hour. And she was honors graduate. Straight away she went from there to Indian Space Research Organization. And we had only 25 students. We had very good education in between. And that's where I could get into petroleum refining. I could get even into every break of the college, whether it is half yearly or one. We go to industry, study there, get into various practical knowledges. That has helped quite a lot. Today, for reasons maybe known, maybe not really understood, that sort of courses are not there. Primarily because of the limitations, primarily because of the pressure of the work. In India also, I would say, recognizing this, government around 7 years back brought out a scheme known as National Functional Knowledge Hub, NKFH. What does it mean? It recognized that today industries are not able to give time to universities or to colleges, because every industry is a Q1 culture. Q1, Q2, Q3, every Q2 you have to make the profit you have to make. So there is no time for deputing your industry experts to institutes. Recognizing this, government formed this NKFH, which I personally believe it is. I was also a member of that in the Western region, and continue to work with industry as well as institute, and to bring up what we know as national occupancy standards for every curriculum plus every courses, and also bring up, because there is no occasion for industry to send their experts to the university or the colleges to train people, have a program known as Train the Trainer program. Under that Train the Trainer program, we were trying to organize that institutes or the colleges that are getting into what is known as a vocational course program, and also get trained the program. While industry is not able to spare their curriculum, institutes will send to the industry, work there for 1 year, or also get into what is the new technologies coming. When you look back, again, after independence, 1947, we had a socialistic pattern of society. The world over was either a capitalism or a socialism, but we did accept only socialistic pattern of society. There was no role modelism, so we need to find out that. We had our own challenges in socialistic pattern of society, and I believe sometime 1991-92, we went to a reform process. We had in fact, prior to that, rupee was not convertible. When I mention rupee, you cannot take it out and sell. And in 1991-92, we made rupee partly convertible, then you could go. Prior to that, even if you have to go, you have to get to RBI and get permission for getting dollar. So you had an isolated world. In that isolated world, our growth was suffocating. Recognizing this, at that time, government decided to have the reform process, integrate, globalize. In that globalization, we have a lot of challenges came, and that, of course, it has got its own challenge. So when we look at that, after liberalization, we had isolation by virtue of controlled economy. Then came globalization, where we opened up, and then came the industry, along with an industrialization development. When you look at the industrialization also, it came from the, I would say, the steam engineering to electrical to technology to digital. Now, when all these things, how do you keep up the pace with the requirements industry need? So on one side, industry is not able to spare time for these colleges, college to meet the requirements of today is impossible to get that. So that's where the challenges came. We need to have industry-institute partnership, and the new education policy certainly accounts for that requirement of industry-institute partnerships. And in that new education policy also, one of the mistakes identified is the vocational course lacking. So there is a lot of force, a lot of pressure on that to get vocational courses. If you look at, I don't want to compare China, but certainly in this case I would like to compare. When you look at China, China was 20 years behind India, accordingly same way. But they had nearly 200 times the vocational courses in every provinces, every colleges, every institutes they had. Here, with all the focus, still vocational courses are not yet taken up. Probably people have not understood the importance, or probably it has not got into it. So one of the critical aspects of new educational policy is to have vocational courses right from primary stage identified. That is the biggest, because I would say, advantage. And this educational policy has come out with, after a lot of deliberations, interaction with the industry, interaction with experts internationally. And in that, the greatest, I would say, the opportunity is to have vocational courses right from the college. And probably, this is my own thinking, the word vocational does not give people the real meaning of it. So I was thinking within me, is it not a time to change the course of that vocational to have a sustainable development course, the name? Why not we change the word to vocational too? Because we need to imbibe. It is nothing but vocational. Even today, even if you have completed vocational, you have to have continuous education. I have said that even now I learn from you. I learn from each and every occasions. So I personally believe you need to look at vocational education courses. If you really look at, there are over 3,000 vocational education courses across the world. And with 15,000 specialized detailed modules in each vocational courses. Imagine, that is where the world moves ahead. So here we are, I personally think it's around 480 vocational courses are identified in India. Maybe by the ministries concerned, education ministry and concerned other ministries. But there are some other courses which are involved also, which altogether maybe around 600 courses, vocational courses are only identified in India. But we need to catch up on in today's world of digitization, in today's world of industry and services. Why is it essentially required? Because our contribution to exports in the GDP is around $1 trillion we are targeted by 2030. If merchandise exports have to have $1 trillion, which is around $260 billion, if now in last year, and another $260 is coming from services. Going forward, services is also very important. So the vocational courses need not be of the engineering, need not be of the technical. It can be across even services to get into that area. So if we need to look at how our country's GDP has to grow by 2030, we have projected around $10 trillion, which of course slightly scaled down because of the 2 years pandemic, is around $10 trillion by 2032. We need to have our education in such a way that our exports go into at least to the extent of $2 trillion, combine both services and merchandise. It might be possible to achieve $1 trillion in services, provided we again take the sustainable development courses in services again, in order, because of the IT areas. But at the same time, in order to have $1.2 trillion by 2030 in merchandise exports, there is no other way. We have to focus on our sustainable development courses in our education. So in my take, our success comes on sustainable development courses embedded in every curriculum, whether it is in the engineering, whether it is mathematics, or whether it is science, technology, any area need to have, because it is a combined one. Another area which we have to really look at, it is not necessary these courses are only on what we call it as knowledge sharing or direct knowledge. There are areas which are now newly coming in sports. You look at last year, our athletes have won wonders in the global competitions. And we need to certainly strike that, continue that. So we need to create, when I studied my primary, we had, in fact, every week, at least 2 classes were there, where sports is there. I used to be a footballer. I used to also play other games. So what I am saying is we need to look at sports is one of the area. Another area, especially we have to look at the fashion. Sitting at home, in today's e-commerce world, you can do wonders. Nowhere you need to go. Even during the last 2 years, quite a lot of ladies sitting at their home has developed global market for their products in fashion design. Textiles, any area where you look at. So that's what I am saying, the coming area, the vocational, the terminology should change into sustainable development course, and each and area where we feel that we have expertise, we have competency, we can develop, we can contribute to the global community in order to lift them. That's very essential. Don't forget, we are borrowing our future days from our future generation. You know, there is a date counted because 22nd July was the Earth Day. That day, most of the Earth Day has consumed what we are supposed to consume this year. Next, whatever we consume, we are borrowing from future generation. So we need to look at with that. There is also what is known as ESG. In any field you will go, even if you have to have funding, my friend, you need to start a business. You need to look at what is the one which you contribute to the ESG. E is environment, C is societal, how much you contribute to the society. The third one is governance, compliances. Without these three, whatever you do, you have no sustainability. You need to look at, you do not contribute, you do not pollute the system, you do not consume the earth which your grandchildren need to have. So you need to equally contribute. That is where the coming in decarbonization. That's exactly, except de-dollarization, decarbonization is a very important challenge, because today I've seen, morning, Madam spoke to about the heavy rains. Normally in September it's not heavy rains in Bombay, but we have seen, we are changing, climate is changing. Probably you might have seen a video around 2 weeks back in New Zealand. Around 200 whales died down in one beach because of the swirling waters. So it's a very, very big challenge. We need to look at what we contribute to the environment. If we generate any amount of carbon, we need to look at that we contribute that much carbon from our own sources in order to decarbonize. That's very essential. Similarly, no child labor is permitted. Very, very essential. And ethics, ethology is very, very important to global business. These are all the areas where look at, by being a vocational sustainable, you have to really look at how we look at. Then compliances. There is absolutely no room for not complying with globally or even in India. So ESG is a very, very important aspect of the future generations, and each and every academic curriculum also I personally believe should have a focus on ESG in the coming days in order to have sustainability. Thank you. Thank you for.
Thank you, Mr. Nandakumar, sir. Your words definitely made us think optimistically. We will now move to the second part of the session. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. I now request the moderator and the panelists to please grace the podium with their presence. Moderator, Mr. Shaurya Chakravarti, and our panelist, Mr. S. Dharmarajan, Ms. Ranjana Maitra, Mr. Amit Seth, Dr. Keshav Nandakumar. The moderator for today's panel discussion is Mr. Shaurya Chakravarti. Sir is a university topper and gold medalist. He has more than 20 years of working experience. He was the Associate Vice President at HSBC, General Manager at First Source. Since 2010, Sir has been a Chief Human Resource Officer at Quality Kiosk Technologies Private Limited, CHRO and Chief of Technology Employee Communications, CSR and General Administration at Aptech. Sir is well knowledgeable in areas like human resource, business development, leadership, team management, and many more. I would now request our CAO, Dr. Lakshmi Kavita ma'am, to please greet Sir with a bouquet of flowers. Dr. Poonam Mirwani ma'am will greet Sir. Our first panelist for today is Mr. Dharam Rajan. Mr. Dharam Rajan has 25 plus years of business leadership with a mix of corporate, family managed business, and startup experience, including board management and corporate governance. He is a certified corporate director by the Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs and fellow of Institute of Directors. Sir has worked in leadership positions in multinationals like Philips, Johnson & Johnson, and in the top management in an indigenous manufacturing organization, Telenet System. He is currently the founder and CEO of Impact Short Technologies, a software company focused on delivering AI-based solutions. He is also on the board of directors, advisory board in MSME companies and startup. Mr. Dharmarajan has done his professional degree and master's in management studies from Birla Institute of Technology and Science, Pilani. He has done specialization programs from IIM Ahmedabad and advanced management courses with specialization on entrepreneurship from Wharton Business School, Pennsylvania. His mission is to support enterprises through technology, strategy, corporate governance, and leadership development. I would now request our HOD, Dr. Poonam Mirwani ma'am, to hand over a bouquet of flowers, please. Our next panelist is Ms. Ranjana Maitra. Ma'am is a dynamic, accomplished global leader and entrepreneur with a distinctive pedigree and proven track record of successfully building, nurturing, and scaling business. Over 3 decades, she has built and grown businesses manyfold in healthcare and life sciences. Ma'am holds an MBA marketing degree and is a proud alumnus of the University of New Haven, USA. After her graduation in 1991, she returned to India and joined TCS and later worked for Wipro. After an illustrious corporate career, she is now an influential international education leader connecting cultures and students. also guiding bright, young, talented minds to pursue and leverage higher education in leading global universities. Ma'am is also the co-chairperson for CII IWN Western Region for 2022-23, and the earlier year was chairperson CII IWN for Maharashtra. I would now request Dr. Poonam Mirwani ma'am to welcome Ms. Ranjana Maitra with a bouquet of flowers. Our next panelist is Dr. Keshav N. Nandurkar. Sir is working as a principal of K.K. Wag Institute of Engineering, Education and Research, Nasik, since September 2004. Is a member, Board of Directors, K.K. Wag Education Society, Nasik. Sir has published 32 research papers in various journals and 83 papers in various national and international conferences. He's visited 6 reputed universities in the USA under the Indo-US collaboration for engineering education, attended Global Engineering Deans Council conference in China, an international interactive workshop on effective academia leadership strategies at Segi University, Malaysia. Sir is an approved assessor for MBA and NAC and Margadarshak by AICTE. Sir has received the Engineering Achievement Award from the Institution of Engineers, Nasik. Has received award for excellence in institutional leadership from ISTE Maharashtra Goa section and Best Principal of the Year award from CSI Mumbai during Tech Next India 2018. I would now request Dr. Poonam Mirwani ma'am to greet sir with a bouquet of flowers. Our next panelist is Mr. Amit Seth. Sir is the co-chairman and director of Orion Pro. Being one of the founding member, Sir has been instrumental in driving the banking and financial services portfolio of Orion Pro. He has spearheaded the company's initial path of expansion across India and Southeast Asia. Currently, Sir oversees and guides business development and strategic partnership initiatives and continues to play an influential role in Orion Pro's geographical expansion across Middle East and Africa. With over 22 years of experience in corporate finance, equities, and technology, he brings domain expertise in banking operations and cash management. Prior to Orion Pro, Sir has held key positions with 12th Century Finance and Lloyds Securities. An acclaimed thought leader in the banking industry, Sir is a regular contributor to regional banking conferences, panel discussions, and trade publication. I would now request Dr. Poonam Mirwani to greet Sir with a bouquet of flowers. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. I would now request the the moderator for today's event, Mr. Shaurya Chakravarti, to take it forward from here.
So I'll just take 2 minutes there and then I come back here for all of you. A very good morning to all of you. I know it's a Saturday, but I expect some more energy, please. Good morning. Yeah, that sounds better. That sounds better. So, when I was listening to Dr. Mohan Rao and Dr. K. Nandakumar, both of them stressed on 2 points. One was sanskar, which Dr. Mohan Rao said, and the other was sustainability factor, which Dr. Nandakumar mentioned. Both of these are very important in today's context. We are going to talk about the future of higher education with regard to, with special focus on employability. Employability is different from employment, number one. Number two, I will make a statement and I would ask you whether it is right or wrong. The future of higher education begins at our home. Am I right or wrong? How? If you say right, how? Like that film 3 Idiots, when the kid was born, said, "Mera beta engineer banega, mera beta doctor banega," right? But isn't that so wrong? I am not questioning the parents. I am also the son of a 19-year-old, the father of a 19-year-old son. I mean, that shows that, I'm still young when I say that. Right? But when we bring up our children, and that's the importance of sanskar, we don't tell them that, what we term as a vocational course is important. Somewhere in the 1980s, when I did my 10th, I told my father at that time, he was also a professor, I said, I want to do hotel management. The first day, hotel mein kaam karega, graduate nahi banega. I said, okay, but what difference does it make? The entire education system in India is structured on degrees. We have for a long time laid too much stress on degrees. It is not about degrees. Degrees are important. Education is important. I am not saying they are not important. But the whole problem is we view education with the degrees. Education is not about degrees. Education is about making all of us human beings. So we can contribute to society. When we contribute to society, we contribute to nation building. We contribute to the sustainability of life. We contribute to future generations. Today, if our children say that we don't want to do this, we want to do that, we would probably agree to that because our outlook has broadened. So future of education is laid at home. The other aspect I wanted to say, and which we'll build this, and my co-panelists would stress on it more, are we taught appreciation? We are not taught appreciation. We are taught criticism from childhood. We are always told what not to do. We are never told what to do. The sense of fear in us is laid from childhood. बच्चा curious होता है, जाके electrical point में, he'll put his finger. We'll say, मत करो, shock लगेगा, fear. ठंडा पानी मत क्यों, गला खराब हो जाएगा, fear. Right? We are never taught the positive side of things. We learn the positive things as we grow up. So the whole approach has to change. Right? In management also you are taught SWOT analysis, right? What comes in SWOT first? It's strength. Right? Weakness doesn't come first. It's not what's, it's SWOT. You build on strength, because when you strengthen the strengths, you are becoming more competent, more powerful. Today, when we talk about higher education, we have to give equal importance to what we so-called term as soft skills, because remember one thing, companies select you for your degrees. They hire you for your attitude. They don't select you for your attitude. They hire you for your attitude. You may be very well qualified, but if you do not have the right attitude, you do not fit into the company culture. अगर आप हर चीज़ में खामियां निकालेंगे तो आपको कोई पसंद ही नहीं करेगा. Why? In your friend circle also, if you are a constant cribber, what happens? Nobody will like you. There are certain things which will be the way they are. There are certain things. Right? Having said that, my co-panelists today would probably have an experience, collective experience of more than 125 years among them. Very, very distinguished people. While I have make their views known to you. What do they think of the future of higher education in India with reference to employability? So may I invite Mr. Amit Sheth first to place his views.
Thank you, Surya. And very interesting points you made, so that it is really thought-provoking. Today we are, there's a huge paradox that I see when we go to engineering colleges in Mumbai and recruit fresh engineers. We have to put them through for a 1-year training program, or we hire specialized training institutes and then send them there and then say you come to work. So this is really extremely paradoxical, because kids have spent 4 years in college employable, and that's really a gap that exists in our current education system. Not just engineering, right? When we look at even commerce graduates, right, they have to be put through ERP courses or Tally before they are employable. So I think there is a lot of and as Dr. Nandkumar also highlighted, right, there is a huge skill gap that is existing, but contemporary skills are always a challenging, and it's easier said than done. So Dr. Rao and other educationists here, they are working extremely hard to make the courses relevant and contemporary, but we are living in a very different era, right, where business models are evolving rapidly, and what was true yesterday, in overnight changes, and adaptation and bringing those skills is a huge challenge, as I see. Secondly, the technological advancements are so rapid today that by the time you design a course and train people, some of the skills are outdated. So we are not undermining the challenges that the education sector is facing, but there is a need, definitely a need for more contemporary skill sets that has to come in. And India as a nation, I think there is, we are essentially living in an era of super specialization, where specialization is disproportionately rewarded. I think when we look at e-commerce space, let's say, there's Flipkart, Amazon, which will take away 80-90% of the market. It's for a reason. They are extremely good at what they're doing. There are like 200 people just focusing on analyzing where to put this ad so that you are going to click and buy it, How, or, when we go to banks, there are 500 people just thinking through and trying to create a model where, if you've clicked on Donald Trump and, whether you are a fascist, how likely you're going to not repay my loan, things like that. So I think, we are essentially looking, working in a very, very dynamic world. And it's a real challenge to bring those skill sets into current employment. So, the country, unless we bring those skill sets, right? There's a lot of talk of demographic dividend that country can reap. But in a knowledge economy, unless there is higher education, unless we have those relevant skill sets, how are we going to reap those demographic dividends? And these are real challenges that I'm sure some of my co-panelists will be able to throw light on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Sheth. Thank you for your opening remarks. I would now request Dr. Nandurkar to please place his views before us.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. And I come from education background. I have been working in the higher education sector for last almost three decades. Higher education, when we talk of this sector, this is, that it is after 12th standard, whatever courses are offered, we call it as higher education in India. And definitely there are some issues, there are some problems. Some problems have been highlighted just now. And I feel that the main issue is related to the number. We have a very high number for aspiring for higher education. And still there are so many people who are not able to get that education. So I think that is the first major challenge for the current higher education system in India. Of course, as it was pointed out, there is a gap between what industry needs and what is taught in the college. Definitely I agree with that. But there are some limitations also, because it is a very huge education system and we cannot cater to the needs of all industries and their requirements. So that is the fundamental problem which is there in the education system today. But I am really very optimistic that in the coming period, what we are talking about future higher education, definitely there will be some changes. Just now there was a mention of new education policy, and this new education policy has some good features. And if it is implemented properly, I think some of the problems will be taken care of, and that definitely the education institutes are working towards that. And of course, I'll talk about that in a later on in the second half of this. But initially, to give my initial view on this, definitely efforts are done in the higher education system to increase the employability. We understand that there is a difference between employability and employment, and according to that, all the colleges in higher education, they are trying to train the students. Now, different ways are adopted, and we are trying to increase the industry institute interaction also. There are different platforms which are used for that. And a lot of efforts are done by not only engineering colleges, but even for other colleges also. They are trying to reach out to the industries to understand their requirements and then provide the knowledge or the skills required for that according to the requirements of the industry. Now, it is not only the manufacturing industry, as it was discussed earlier. There are opportunities in service industry also. And definitely all higher education institutes will take care of that in the coming period to prepare students for service industry also. There are some other issues, but definitely in the coming period, there will be changes in the system. I'll talk about NEP, the flexibility which it will be offering, and the new opportunities which it will be offering to the universities as well as the colleges. The first opportunity the colleges will get is they are trying to abolish the affiliation system. Now, currently there are around 40,000 colleges in the country, you know that, and around 1,000 universities are there in the country. And most of the colleges are in the affiliated system. So the problem starts with the affiliation, that the university has the limitation, as it was said that the curriculum is set up by the university, and it takes quite a long time to change that curriculum. But if you are in the affiliated system, probably you get a opportunity to change the syllabus according to requirement, or basically the requirements in the local area, because the local areas are different. The country is so vast that you cannot have a common syllabus for all the colleges or all the universities. So according to local needs, you can have the syllabus and train the students. Like that, so many opportunities will be available, and I think the future higher education will be much more adaptable, and it will train people for employability. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nandurkar. I would now request Ranjana for your initial views on the topic.
Thank you so much, Shaurya, and thanks all of you for inviting us to this panel. I'll try to keep it short, but it was really refreshing seeing so many students. And of course, the Saraswati Vandana brought back my school days. And Dr. Rao and Dr. Nandkumar really spoke, whether it was about sanskar, sustainability, all of that really made it very engrossing. A little bit of an anecdote or on my journey so that you can gel with it, and you all are much more privileged than 30 years back what I had to go through. I was born and brought up in Rourkela, which is a steel plant, and which has a lot of emphasis on either being a doctor or an engineer. My father was a double engineer, my mother was from LSR Delhi, so there was a lot of pressure. My parents didn't do that. And that's what he was talking about. It starts at home. And both me and my sister, who were very good at studies, we took up liberal arts. So I'm a liberal arts major who went to the US to pursue an MBA in marketing and international business, came back to India and worked in 2 top global IT companies without being an engineer in TCS and Wipro, and rose at leadership positions. And after that, took a break for 6 months and took up higher education because my president of my university asked me to do that. So what I'm saying is the skills that you acquired, it doesn't matter what it is. I didn't know anything about higher education before, and I just took it up, and actually it's been doing very, very well. It's a huge world out there. What I want to say is that there's an adage which I strongly believe in. If you want to plan for a year, plant rice. If you want to plan for 20 years, plant trees. And if you want to plan for 100 years, plant education. So education is very important, and the topic today, what we have with employability, we are going to talk more about it, that please don't converge a degree with your employability. Today with artificial intelligence, everything that is going so digital, your skills at every point of time has to be employable so that you can fit in whatever vocation you want to choose. Thank you. I'll talk more about it later.
Thank you, Ranjana. Mr. Dharmarajan, your views, please.
Thank you, Shaurya. Good morning, all. It's a pleasure to be here today. And when I'm sitting here, I'm reminded of my college days. As Dr. Rao mentioned, I also come from BITS Pilani. And the motto of BITS Pilani, what used to be written on the logo, it said, Jnanam Param Balam, which means knowledge is power supreme. Now today, as the days progress, now knowledge on one side, and now the all prevailing data has now become the most supreme, and how you use the data, how you use the information that is available. Today you're all in the information age where it's all about data, artificial intelligence, technology, and things like that. How do you use that information and data in a more meaningful way that can make you successful, make a sustainable world, is what is more important today. When I started my career or my academic journey 30 years ago, there were engineering was, as Ranjana ma'am mentioned, there were few streams, engineer, doctor, and even in engineering, there were largely the electrical and electronics, mechanical, chemical, civil, and computer science was just coming up. And as I graduated, companies like Infosys, Wipro, TCS, they were just about starting in India, liberalization started, and people started going towards computer science. Many of them wrote GRE and went abroad, and computer science was a choice of subject. From even though if they were a civil engineer or a chemical engineer, they chose computer science and specialized in computer science. Some of them went to do an MBA and did MBA and then gone into financial services, even though they may have been an electrical engineer. They say, why are you doing that? They said, engineering brings in analytical skills. And those skills were important in doing some other activities. In today's scenario, we've gone way beyond analytical skills alone. You've got to bring many more skills. Now, the pandemic taught us to become more adaptable, to bring in new elements, new nuances into the way we live, the way we communicate, the way we organize ourselves. So it is the skill building. At the same time, how can you contribute more for the society? How can you contribute to make it more effective for your own space around you is what is making it thing. Employability or employment is something which will be an outcome, but it is up to you. Just before I conclude, I just want to say one thing. I talked about BITS Pilani. I'm reminded about the day when our professor, when we were graduating, our director mentioned that all of you, statistics say that every individual is successful. That made us think at the moment, that point in time, how can we be successful? We don't know whether we'll get a job, what will we do? Some of my colleagues were going abroad. They had no idea about what the future was, but they said that statistics say that every individual is successful. It is actually up to you, how you utilize your own skills, how you develop yourself, identify your passion and build on it. Mr. Saurya mentioned about the SWOT, strength. Work on your strength and work towards something which is meaningful that can contribute to the society. And how we can contribute more to the society, we will continue as the journey progresses. Thank you so much.
A big thanks to my esteemed panelists for thank you for laying the context and laying the foundation of this discussion. Very important point which has come out during these discussions. And again, I'll ask you another question. How many of you joined this course because of employment guarantee? Did anyone tell you placement guaranteed? No. That is the shift which has happened. When we would join courses or colleges, we would only look at the placement statistics. Even now people look at it, right? Which brings me to another point of what everybody has been speaking. We lay a lot of focus on achievement vis-a-vis happiness. Individual happiness is something which we sacrifice to achieve. I would say, let us have an education system, or let us work towards an education system where we follow our passion, achieve and be happy. Not one thing at the cost of something else, right? Just last week I went to drop my son for his engineering, and trust me, I didn't force him to be an engineer. He genuinely wanted to be a computer engineer. And when he was going, one of the super elders in the house told him that, do well, study hard, make us proud. Because it was a super elder, I obviously kept quiet. That's our sanskar, you don't contradict. But I was just thinking to myself, why make us proud? Bhai, uski life hai. I have lived my life. Make himself proud, absolutely. Right? So in this context, I would like to ask Dr. Nandurkar a question that, higher education in India, we lay a lot of stress on degrees, qualifications, and all of that. But are we actually moving to churn out industry-ready professionals? And when I say industry-ready, it's not just the corporate world. Or let me reframe it and say, are we churning out life-ready professionals? Mr. Sheth also mentioned that you have a problem when you recruit freshers. So what is your take on this, and how can we, move to a situation where, it's a seamless amalgamation for the next generation? Over to you, please.
Thank you. That was a very prominent question and very pertinent to the education system today. Are we churning out engineering graduates or any graduates for professional graduates for industry requirement? To some extent, yes, we are doing that. And as you mentioned earlier about placement, placement has become one of the criteria while selecting the colleges. Still, some of the students probably, I don't know what is the response over here, but many of the students, they are trying to select a college based on the placement. Now, the placement happens in a college when some of the companies are visiting, and as it was said, that there is a gap between what is taught in the college and then the companies are hiring the students from that college. And one more interesting thing I would like to share here, because we started with a point that आपको क्या बनना चाहते हैं or what you want to do in your life. So one interesting survey we carried out in our college, that is when the student enters in the college in the first year, we took a survey that what you want to do. And many times it happens that, and many students from here, they may be thinking of that. When you are very small, then when you see a pilot or you see an aeroplane, you want to become a pilot. You see a train, you want to become a train driver because it is something fascinating. But later on, as you grow up and get more information, your choices change. And that was a very interesting thing that in the first year, they wanted to do something, and when they approached the final year, they wanted to do something. So that is one thing that is related to placement. And we have seen that, of course, employment was the major this thing, that objective that they wanted to get a good job. Now the question is, what is a good job? So it was said just now again, and initially also it was mentioned here. Does a good job means good salary only? It is not only the salary, but if somebody talked about good life, then what is a good life? So what you want to do actually, that is one part. And if you really enjoy that, then only that will be a good job for you. Otherwise, only the job which is paying more may not be the proper job as per your liking. And if that is happening, I think that may not match with the education what you are doing. So the first thing which I would like to mention here when we are talking about industry requirement, is the student really having the aptitude for that? Because if we are only focusing on the placement, then we have different programs, we call experts to deliver lectures, then we try to imbibe the skills and try to make them ready for the campus placement. I'm not saying industry ready, but we are trying to make them ready for the campus placement. And after that, if they succeed. Now, just now, my co-panelist said that after you succeed into getting a job, everything depends on your own performance. So if you are really liking that job, that was said earlier, that if you are really liking that job, then you will excel in that. So that is the process which is to be done. Now in the new education policy, or what we say that in the future higher education, I think some of the issues will be addressed. Like I talked about the flexibility. So we will be getting some flexibility. No, thank you. We talk of credit transfer, and that was mentioned earlier that any student can take up different credits and the education will be multidisciplinary. So once we go into that particular era, I think that will be much more seamless, as you are saying, for getting a job. Because when you want to get a job, you need different types of skills. And currently in the higher education system, what is missing is the humanities part of that. Especially in our engineering type of education, we find that humanities part is missing. And only we focus on theoretical subjects, mainly the engineering, whatever specialization is there. Now a lot of new specializations have come up. So as he rightly said, when we studied, only mechanical, civil, electrical were there. But now we have branches like AIDS, computer science and design, robotics, automation, and blockchain, and so many other concepts are coming. So these are, I think, again, my students must know these techniques, and then they should compete with the other people. So through that, people are trying to bring those courses in the colleges. And when NEP will be implemented, I think there will be more flexibility for the colleges or university to go ahead with that, and they can train the students for the requirement of the industry. The second important change which I feel will happen with NEP is the focus will be changing from teacher-centric to student-centric. That is, whatever the student wants to learn, he will get an opportunity to learn that. That is, you are studying management, you are studying engineering, but you want to study music also, you can take up credit from some other college. If you want to do painting, you can do painting from some other college. And there some expert will be teaching you that particular thing. And once you get the required credit from all these things, they are calling it as a bank of credits. Once you fulfill the requirements, you will be getting the degree. So I think that change which is proposed, or that will be happening in the coming period, that will be much more helpful for the students to get into employment or proper employment with whatever liking you have. So it is not only engineering or medicine, these are not the only fields. There are so many opportunities now. Probably co-panelists will talk about that. And the second part which I wanted to talk from an education side is the assessment. So what we do in the current education system is that for the year long you keep on studying. At the end of the year there is a final examination, maybe of 100 marks. You score some marks and you get a degree. So scoring a marks is a different issue. That is, whatever is taught in the entire semester is that is reproduced in the final exam. But what change is happening or will be happening in the coming period is the continuous assessment. And I think in most of the US universities that is followed, probably you can share more on that, what we call it as formative assessment. That whether the student is learning, whether he has understood what we are trying to teach. And that type of thing will be coming in the future period. I think some colleges have already adopted that. In my college, we have started that in the classroom itself, we put up a question. Like our Kaun Banega Crorepati, some question is put up and there are 4 options, A, B, C, D, you have to select one. And once you select that, the teacher comes to know that how many students are getting whatever I am trying to teach. So through that formative assessment, the teacher can make the changes in the teaching pattern. So I think that is a very positive sign which is coming up, which was missing in the higher education system, that we used to get the entire score at the end of the year and then come to know who is performing better, who is not performing better. So that we will come to know immediately within the system. And through that, I think the improvement can be done or proper actions can be done. And that way we can prepare the students for better opportunities or better employment. So these things are coming, these changes are coming, and I'm really hopeful that these things will be helping the future generation to get good employment. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nandurkar. I think you made some very, very interesting points, and one of them, thank you, and one of them being that, moving from an year-end assessment to a continuous assessment. Now, let me tell you, many of the corporates also have moved into, continuous assessment. And that system, we love to have new terminologies. It's called OKR, which is Objective and Key Results, which is a subset of your KPIs, the Key Performance Indicators. So this movement which is happening in the academics arena is actually, if you look at it, it is going to be integrated going ahead. The pace of change is going to be very, very fast. And as we move forward with the new education policy, and Dr. Rao suggested that all of you should go through it, and really I also recommend that you need to go through that to understand how the change is going to happen. And trust me, by 2025, you will observe a sea change in the way education is administered in this country. Probably we will not have to study Shakespeare in English. We will probably have to study the practical aspects of English here. Sorry, Ranjana, I know you're from humanities, even I am. Right? The other aspect, what we have noticed in the past is a lot of people, especially from well-to-do families. Am I audible without the mic? Yeah, no? No? Okay. Thank you. So, a lot of students move away from India. There was a time when everybody would move to the US. Dr. Nandkumar also mentioned that people would go abroad for higher studies. The trend still continues. Engineering के बाद क्या करेगा? MS करेगा. किधर से? US. Okay. What after that? No clue. What do you want to do after engineering? I want to work for 2 years in TCS, Wipro, Infosys, or any of the IT companies. And that 2 years, what I do, I do work, but I prepare for my higher studies, my MBA. Now, why do you need an MBA? If you wanted to do engineering, why not be an engineer? Can't engineering graduates actually become CEOs or functional heads? They can. So why this fascination with particular degrees? That is, I think, something which I would ask my next question to Ranjana, is that, we see an immense aspiration for students to go overseas to study. I mean, is India lacking? We have institutions of eminence here. We have very good institutes which impart quality education, but we still see that trend happening. And a lot of these overseas institutions, I know you're from one of them and sorry for that, but they come in hordes, especially when the children are in the 11th and the 12th grades. And they specifically target them. I mean, it's a very, very organized scheme of things which happen. So, I mean, is it due to less opportunities for employability, or what is it that, motivates these people? Or is it the parents' push that, no, you go? A foreign degree gets you a higher salary, or what is it? So, your views, Ranjana.
Thank you, Shaurya, and thanks for that and also putting me in a spot. I would like to say that, I'm very upfront with the students and with the parents. I'll start with that. So I don't look at undergrad. And I tell the parents that it's a complete waste of money sending students for undergrad to the US, because you can do it very well in India, and if they want, they can go for masters. A lot of my other college, representatives or friends have said, why do you do that? I said, because it's a waste of money. Foreign exchange is going out and they can get a very good undergrad degree here, and it's frightfully expensive in the US. So I would always recommend going for a master's in the US. And that's what I've done. And the master's courses have been doing very well in the US, where I have been representing. To answer Shaurya's question, it's a very valid question, and it's also a very, it has got many dimensions to it. India being a large country, as mentioned, that about 1,000 colleges, maybe 40,000 institutions, and 12,000 standalone institutions are there in India. But the numbers look large, but do they all have the capability or capacity to bring out very good students? No, they are not. We have a tremendous demand-supply gap in India. So there's only a handful of IITs, IIMs, NITs, whatever, and they're not even ranked among the top 100 in the world. And sometimes people joke that it's easier to get into a Harvard, Yale, or MIT than it is to an IIT or an IIM, which is a fact, because you have to really, not a real fact, but yes, you have to study very hard. So what do people do? There's a burgeoning middle class. 500 million people, Indians, are getting into the middle class, and they can afford to send children overseas because they see a bigger future out there. Why? Because there is also employability and also the skills. So a person who has done, say, mechanical engineering or ECE or electrical engineering can also go into computer science. This is also something which we talked about, and I tell students, don't get into the herd mentality. Look at your core strengths. If you're not a coder, just because my friend is going to go into computer science, don't do that. There are jobs galore in India and abroad as well of the courses that you want to do. Since you are all from business, I would like to state that there are many courses available for business, both in India and overseas, which you can look at. And the other thing which people want to do, and they go to the US specifically, is for STEM designated courses. Science, technology, engineering, math, because what it gives you, apart from a very good degree, it gives you 3 years stay back compared to a non-STEM, which is 1 year. So the first thing students will do is they will not look at the strengths. They will say, is this STEM or not? I said, how does it matter? You see what you have studied and what you are good at. So if you're not good in quantitative, please don't take up a STEM course, because 50% has to be, quantitative for you to be able to, for the course to be STEM. So there are many reasons why, students are going overseas, and the trend is continuing, and also the employability part of it. Shaurya, we said that nowadays, you asked a question that, do you look at the placement numbers? When the person goes to the US, I'm talking from a US point of view because I have studied there and I have worked in both TCS and Wipro, where my clients were all US, so I'm a little more comfortable with US. They ask, what is the return on investment? If I'm going to spend, say, $30,000 or $40,000 for 2 years what is my return on investment? And they look at the placement ratios. There the placement is different. We have career development offices, and they look at that. And today US has a vast plethora of jobs. So they looked at that compared to the ones in India and take a call. I get calls from TCS, Wipro, everyone saying we have to put in our notice period, have we got our admit or not? So I think you take a calculated decision whether you really are going there to enhance your skills, or you're going to be one of the herd, or you want to stay back here. As I said, I came back to India and had a very, very good career in both the companies, and I have no regrets forever. So please don't always think that the grass is greener on the other side. India is doing amazingly well, and you can do a lot of things today that you could not do 30 years back when I was there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ranjana. The grass is not always green on the other side. That's a very important thing. We always think that some other person is doing better than us. Some other college is better than us. Please remember one thing. Institutions are made both by the quality of the faculty, with all due regard to everybody here, as well as the quality of students. Right? It is not a one-way process. Your institution cannot guarantee your placements. As Dr. Nandurkar said, they will only make you placement ready. They will not give you they can't influence the companies, no? Say, please hire him, please hire her. They can't do that. So at the end of the day, it's all up to all of you how you put it. You have to chalk out what is it that you want to do. Higher education and employability is one aspect of it. But what is it that you want to do? Right? How many of us are actually focused on what we want to do in life? And when we were growing up, trust me, I mean, all of you would bear with me, we never had so many options. Right? We had just a few limited options. There was the widespread adoption of technology which we see today wasn't there. As early as 2005, there was probably no Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, or nothing was there. I mean, I'm just talking about 20 years ago. All of this was not there. So you can see the pace of change which has happened in the past couple of years. And while talking on this, there's a lot of effort on the part of the government as well to open institutions. Of late, there have been a lot of IITs, IIMs, NITs, either new ones or designated. Whatever it is, I mean, I remember there was an institution called ISM Dhanbad, Indian School of Mines, that has been designated as an IIT. And honestly, I still don't understand why it has been called an IIT when it was a specialized institution focused only on mining and geology. Certain things don't probably have an answer. But you see a lot of multiple institutions mushrooming, all around the country. My question to you, Mr. Sheth, is that do you think there is a lack of focus there, or what is it? By creating so many institutions, are we, in a way, encouraging joblessness? Or are we actually trying to get the young population educated but not employable? What is the focus on having so many institutions, and can we have some sort of order there from the chaos? So over to you for your views.
Thank you. As Dr. Nandakumar highlighted in his address, right, that there are 30,000 vocational skills that are required, and each one of them have 3,000 vocational skills, I think, and each one of them have some 15,000 sub-modules. So whatever the government does is not going to be enough, because the kind of skill sets that we require today, it is humanly impossible for a few select institutions to cater to. And while I do agree with you that there are institutes which are mushrooming, and there are fly-by-night operators which come in, which make tall claims. My graduate has got placement in Google at 75 lakhs, but they will not mention the fact that he has worked for 10 years in Citibank earlier before joining the course. So just because of so like this, right? Internet has a few outlets that we would like to avoid, but it has been such a great enabler. So for just a few fly-by-night operators, we don't want to stifle the opportunity. India is hugely entrepreneurial, and the skill sets that are required can only come if we open up and provide an opportunity, because markets are great enablers and equalizers. There are so many engineering colleges, and I was reading somewhere, 2/3 of, in one of the states, and I would not name it, but 2/3 of MCA seats are going vacant, or some 60% of BSc IT seats are going vacant. So people eventually find out. When we were growing up, it was just engineering, medical, or chartered account. These were only 3 options for us. But today, I know of people who have done music, and they are having an exceedingly good career. There are people who are specializing in baking. So it's humanly impossible for education institutes which are far and few to cater to all the needs. So I think we should encourage. And secondly, most important thing is we have to attract talent to the education institutions. How can you attract talent unless there is entrepreneurship, unless there is reward? So for greater talent to come to the education side, we need to have more institutes and more opportunities to them. And secondly, what is also required in the contemporary world is a greater integration between industry and academy. Because, I spend a lifetime with banks, and the biggest problem that they have in the problem statement wherever I go and meet them is, we have great bankers, but we don't know how to use technology to make it more efficient. And on the other end, you have a lot of graduates who do AI, ML, but they don't know how to apply it in banking. So unless we have these specialized institutions and provide crossbreeding, this is not going to happen. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you for that, Mr. Shet. And when Mr. Shet said about banking and how AI and ML integrates with it. So for a brief tenure in my life, the last 1.5 years, I worked for a company which is into digital quality assurance, primarily software testing, if you call it. Now, how many of you know that it's very easy for us to make a transaction using our mobiles? But behind that transaction, to make that transaction successful, as many as 10 departments are working together. They are collaborating. There is a cohesion of the entire ecosystem. Plus, in the banking segment, there is an RBI sitting on top of your head that if a transaction fails, why it has failed. Right? It's a very interesting concept. And let me tell you, the entire transaction is recorded without the user credentials, so that confidentiality is maintained. So that tomorrow when you analyze and you have to improvise on the experience. And that brings me to the word experience. Life is all about experience. Right? Today, we talk about employee experience in corporates, wherever it is, whichever company. We talk about customer experience, right? What is the experience we are giving to customers? All of us are customers of some service or the others. Today we have only three mobile providers in India, your Jio, Airtel and Vodafone. Tomorrow maybe, we may have some more. There was a time in the past we had some others as well. So this experience is very, very important. Similarly, one of the things in education is the student experience, right? As students, what is our experience of the institution that we belong to, that we study in, and want to graduate from? Having said that, we are all stakeholders in the entire process. We are all citizens of a country which is always on the path of progress, with a country with many firsts. Nowhere in the world do you have a digital payment system as effective as that which is there in India today. I mean, you actually don't need to carry cash anymore, right? Everything is done with your mobile. My question to you, Mr. Dharmarajan, and especially because I would also like you to share some of your experience from your BITS Pilani days and correlate that with today and your experience here. That, what is it that we should be doing or that we can do to make people life ready, industry ready, irrespective of what degree, course or anything that they pursue? If they're doing something on higher education, what is it that can be done there?
Thank you, Shaurya. Talk of technology, we started with some technology with respect to banking and how we as India have progressed so well in the technology space using UPI and things like that. That brought a smile on me because that's what now we do as for a living. We build AI solutions for wholesale banking, trying to change or bring in some new customer experience in the wholesale banking space, like how the retail has progressed. So, I mean, it's just it's been an interesting journey of how manual processes, what used to be thought of rudimentary things that were done manually by hundreds of people, and now technology is starting to taking over. I won't say that taking over what people were doing, but it is enhancing the level of activities, improving the activity that one was doing earlier to a much different level. So in that regard, what I wanted to say is that all of you belong to a tech era, or born tech native, as they say, where technology has become a part of life. We had to learn Excel skills. Now Excel is no longer a skill. It is like learning ABC, right? So it has become part of life. The other day I was attending one of the counseling sessions for my son. He's not getting into engineering. He was looking at an artistic side of things, and then we were attending a counseling session for architecture and design. And at that point in time, one student asked the dean a question, where architecture and generally was known to be artistic, where one needs to know to draw. And that student asked the dean a question, I don't know drawing. Can I do architecture? Now, I was curious to see the response of the dean, and he said that today situation has changed. You no longer need to know to draw, but as long as you are able to understand and appreciate an art, or look through it and observe and analyze the art, you can be good in architecture. Because now there are tools that are available to do what people were drawing earlier. The technology has taken over. Now it's no architect is going to draw on a piece of paper. They are all using some software tool. Now that has become a part of life. Things have evolved. Now, so we need to keep in pace with the technological trends, and the technology is going to stay. So digital, we are living in the digital era, and we need to adapt ourselves to the change of pace. But does that mean that we give up on some of the things that we were doing earlier? Not all, right? Shaurya, you mentioned about what I learned from BITS Pilani and what is it today. Now, today, I say that I'm from BITS Pilani. Nobody ever has asked me what I did there. What was my degree? What was my first degree? What was my second degree? What was my course? What was my this thing? I just say BITS Pilani. You know what what did I learn from there? I learned leadership skills. I learned some life skills from that college. And that is what has brought me to whatever I am today. So in the change of situation, there are many new skills that one needs to adapt in today's thing. The college provides you with fundamental basic education of knowledge. And it's up to you students to pick up what is relevant for the industry and how to make you successful in your own way. You're all, as I mentioned earlier, you're all successful, you're all fantastic. But if I can say what is relevant, more important today that is coming up is some new skills like problem solving, like critical thinking. Now design thinking has become a part of now, every college is now offering some new sessions on design. As an individual, be innovative and contribute to a society, to a situation. So these kind of new things have come up, and one skill which I would emphasize on two skills which are important, which is coming up, is storytelling. Be articulate. Now we are getting into a technology. We are very easy in communicating in Twitters and the Instagrams and the Snapchats of the world. But how articulate are you? Storytelling is something which I would encourage you to pick up. Another, in this tech geeky world, don't forget the networking part of it. Important to network. We are all sitting here because we are networking in some way or the other. And that way you can contribute. How can you contribute towards a sustainable future? Network well, be compassionate, be kind. If you can help someone in some way, that can spread. That can be a contributing factor to the sustenance, right? And that will take you farther, right? And I will leave it at that.
Thank you, Mr. Dharmarajan, for that brilliant points. I mean, I think that resonates with all of us. I know it's been time, and I'm not going to sum up because I hope all of you have assimilated it. I will ask just one more question, and which is open to all the panelists before you can ask questions, whatever you want. And please don't limit it to the topic, because getting such people here who have seen life in all its aspects, not just in their professions, ask them questions, whatever you want. Don't be inhibited. मैं पूछूं कि नहीं पूछूं ये मत सोचना please. पूछ लो. ऐसे मौके नहीं आते हैं बार-बार. Right? Unless Dr. Rao gathers all of us again and gets us here. So the last question which I have, and all of you, is everything with technology and everything, it's the instant generation. Even we have adopted to that. We want everything instantly, right? If a page doesn't open up in 30 seconds, probably we also lose our patience today. So how do we make this prospect of education, higher education, employability prospects, employment, less stressful for students? Students today, the number of health issues they are having is, it's not funny. In our time, if our parents would slap us, it was okay. Today, probably we can't even raise our voice at our children, right? So there's been a change. Mental health today is very, very important. And that's seen as a a key contributor to stress levels amongst the younger generation. So over to any one of you who would want to take it and your individual views on how you would want to say about it.
Thank you so much, Shaurya. I think that's a very relevant question. And what I would like to say that even from CII, we are doing something called campus to career. Because, you know, from the campus, when you get a job and go to career, it's like a culture shock when you go overseas. It's somewhat like that, okay? So we are having these courses as well from campus to career, which we can talk about later. The other thing is what Dharmaraj very nicely said about networking and, you know, ensuring communication. Networking doesn't mean that, you know, you only network when you want a job, when you only network when you need something. Networking should be done selflessly. And I can say for myself that I have really heaped a lot of, benefits by that, and I benefit others as well. Today, if I can say, I know TCS is in the other room. After this, we have a TCS forum, ex-TCS forum, where all the top CEOs and everyone is there. It's called Fortress, and we have a meeting today in Bombay House after this. So it's also because, you know, I've kept in touch after 20 years. If I can still keep in touch with my ex-company colleagues, it means a lot. So I think it's very important for all of you, the instant generation, not to look at just instant gratification. You have to take a longer term view as well. And if someone has helped you climb the ladder, be thankful for that. You never know, the world is round, it can come back. Secondly, never badmouth the company or the institute from which you have passed out from, or if you have changed your job, don't do that. That's like a complete no-no. It goes against the ethics. I know we may sound a little more ethical than you know, what we want to be, but these would be my 2 words. Thank you.
Can I add something? Yeah. Just before concluding, as he has asked about the last question about the employability and the takeaway for this particular program, I would like to add a few things. As a teacher, I find all the students over here, and we talked about higher education, the challenges and what will be the future. But what can be the takeaway today? So the important thing what I feel is, as she rightly said, that you have to take part in all the activities. That is more important. So today, I congratulate you. I appreciate that on Saturday you are here and you are trying to listen to the eminent persons. That is very important, that you have to learn from somebody. And from that, you can fix up your goal. Because if there is no goal, then there will be, you can say you will be going anyway, haphazard way. So that should not happen. You should fix up your goal and try to achieve that goal with whatever information you can collect. Now, as he was saying that information is easily available at your fingertips, but there is a stress. So why the stress is coming? I think one of the aspects of stress is that there are surprises. So if in the system, if you want to say how we can improve the system, I think we can reduce the surprises. So if they have the goal fixed and then preparing according to that, probably the surprises in the life will be less, and then they can cope up with that thing in a better fashion. So that is what I was talking about, the examination. I think examination is the most stressful thing for the students. So if we can reduce that stress and we can have a continuous assessment for the students throughout the semester, probably that stress which develops in the last part of the session or something like that, that will come down. So I think for reducing the stress and making it more enjoyable, of course, education should be enjoyable. It is not something to be forced on them and then they have to study in a forceful manner. It should be enjoyable. And for that, I think learning by doing will be the better way. So while doing, if you learn, that will be more interesting. Because when we talk of, say, swimming or any sports or something, we don't learn from a book. We learn by actually doing. So if that thing is inculcated in the higher education, that whatever you want to learn, and then the question of application that was discussed just now, that I am studying artificial intelligence, I don't know how to apply it. So if we start doing it through projects or applying it and then making it as a theoretical part, I think that will be more appropriate, or that will reduce the stress and prepare them well for the future. So that is my answer to that. Thank you.
Okay. My take on that is, don't look at a problem as something huge and big. Any goal or any objective that you want to approach, look at it, break it down into small pieces which are attainable. Like for example, if you want to do, say, a marathon or a half marathon, 21 kilometers, and if you are starting thinking of a 21 kilometers of a running seems like an impossible task. But the way you approach it is that I have to just run to that particular tree, just run there till there, and then go to the next tree, and then the next tree, and the next tree. You won't even realize how you have completed that 21 kilometers. So my suggestion would be is to break down into small bits and then look at it in that context and then complete it. That becomes faster. Like Mr. Nandurkar mentioned about the assessments are changing from a huge final examinations to a continuous evaluation. And that's what now we are adopting in our tech world as well, in our daily way of functioning. And not just in the assessments in corporates. Like for example, if we are developing a software for a client, now the way we discuss with the client also, we are not looking at a complete wish list that the client wants and then we build the complete software. We take smaller modules, look at what we call as the agile methodology. What is they say fail fast. Look at some small things, take that up, do work on it. If you and seek improvement, keep improving, take feedback, keep improving, take feedback, and becomes that loop. That way you will be faster and more efficient. This will reduce the stress levels overall, and your objective will also be met more easily. That's how I look at it. Thank you.
So I think there are two important messages that I would like to give. One is be fearless. You are extremely, extremely fortunate to be in this era. When we were growing up, it was a luhar ka beta will always be a luhar, or a sunar ka beta will always be a sunar. And corporate India was a bastion of few industry houses. Today, sitting out of Dharavi, you can dream big, and through YouTube, internet channels, you can achieve anything. So I think you are extremely fortunate. You don't have to have fear कि आज job नहीं है तो क्या करेंगे, or I don't like this, but this is paying well, I have to do this. There are so many opportunities in front of you. Just live your dreams, follow your passion. Secondly, I think you should also have the right attitude, because my friends here, emphasized a lot on having the right attitude. And it is not about, everybody will have a different measure of success. Becoming, let's say, a manager or a senior manager is not really success. Success is in your happiness quotient. I'll give you an example of my son. He graduated, post-graduated from US, and some of his friends, they all got into job, and they were in technology job, and he was into management job. Technology was paying fast, so he, suddenly in a year's time, he felt pressured. So there is this peer pressure that comes on to you. He's getting a car, he's buying a car faster than me. So avoid all of that, because you have to have goals. Just pursue that, and things will fall in place. Thank you.
Thank you to my esteemed panelists for that very impactful views, and I hope that you've enjoyed. I would now request all of you, if you have any questions, please don't be hesitant and ask them now. Yes. Please mention to whom you are asking the question.
I had a question for Mr. Dharmarajan, sir. I want to know your views about the dark side of AI. I asked this in two aspects. One is that, I give a small example, like AI is taking over jobs. Like in USA, Uber and Google are inventing self-driving cars, which will be used for taxiing people from one place to another. And they'll eat up the jobs of taxi drivers. And just like that, in the upcoming years, by the time 2050, a lot of small common jobs will be taken over by AI and robots. What are your views about on that? And the other part is that I've seen a lot of articles by different research organizations that AI will come to dominate the world and soon the human race. Like AI is becoming smarter than humans want it to be. Like you probably know about Sophia the robot, which Google has invented. And people have asked the robot some terrifying questions, and it has had like answers like, yeah, I want to destroy humans and something like that. So what are your views on that, the dark side of AI? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. And this is one question which we keep asking ourselves, you know. That's where, as responsible citizens and responsible leaders, we need to take a call on what is it that we want it to be. AI is going to be there. The technology is going to be there, and we cannot avoid that, right? And it's going to, today you have facial recognitions in Facebook, and you have many more things that are coming up. But what differentiates AI, the technology, and the humans is the, as I mentioned earlier, practice kindness, practice compassion. It is not going to be there yet in the AI part. Guys, smile more. Spread that happiness. You know, these are softer things. This is what will take you as individuals to become better citizens, and you will spread that. And that will, when you take a decision as to what your technology will be, when you think of these fundamentals, Mohan Rao sir talked about sanskar. These things will come in handy to take those decisions as what you want your AI to be. So it's up to us as to what we leave a legacy, right, for our future generations. And you play a crucial role in that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
This is regarding the migration of the students or to US. Dr. Anjana has very clearly said, yes, it's happening because probably the prosperity of the middle class or the opportunities are there. Just to add one point specifically, which is very critical to India, because our sustainability again depends on that. If you look at our spending on R&D is less than 0.8% of our GDP. World over spends average 3%, Germany spends 4%, and Israel spends 4.9% of the GDP on R&D. One reason for migration to United States is because of that. People want to go for research, development, science, academy. That opportunity which that country gives, very seldom other countries give except Germany and Israel. So my request is to all my students is there, please look at, if you have an intention for getting into R&D, please focus. Similarly for institutes and also corporates, to focus on R&D, and we must develop our own technology for the coming days for sustainability. Thank you.
You talked about artificial intelligence and robotics. Please sit down. I just wanted to add one thing to that, because when we started robotics course in our college, we had a lot of study and we tried to find out what is happening throughout the globe. As you rightly said, it will take up some jobs, that is right. But in my opinion, it will create some more jobs, because whatever new things you are bringing, say new technology, somebody has to prepare that technology, somebody has to maintain that technology, and somebody has to improvise that technology. So all those type of things will be again depending on the human nature. And I think as long as creativity is there, artificial intelligence will not take up that creativity, or even robots cannot take up that creativity. So you can find out more creative applications. And in the country like India, there are a lot of opportunities. There are so many languages, there are so many other issues which can be taken up. and there will be so many opportunities for the engineers who know this particular thing. So there will be a huge opportunity for application of all these things. Definitely it will take up some jobs. Those jobs which are routine jobs, they will be taken up by artificial intelligence or robotics. But those who are not routine, those who are creative type of jobs, that will still remain, and there you will require human intervention. Thank you.
Ever since, evolution of mankind, this question has always been eluded. Where, when agricultural revolution happened in US, similar questions were asked, what will happen, there are majority of people are tilling land, or when industrial revolution happened in UK, similar questions were asked, so many mill workers, and or when information revolution happened, we all have at least seen that very closely, right? There were earlier, you may not know, but there was an occupation known as typists and stenographers. And when computers came in, there was this question that was being asked, what will happen to all of those? So, human race evolves and innovates in such a way that, in fact, when we look at our own organizations, we are all worried that we are not having enough people to do AI, ML, and some of the opportunities that are in front of us. So I think, as Professor Wagh said, right, there will be enough opportunities for everybody, and these fears are quite unfounded. Thank you.
So my question was, in the corporate world, what is more important, the skills that you carry or the education?
Shall I?
Please.
I think everybody who joins a company is more or less equally qualified, right? So, let's say Citibank goes to a campus and they will hire 100 people or 1,000 people, and everybody joins the bank at the same time, or will join an IT company at the same time, but only one person goes to become the CEO. And that, because everyone is same qualified, right? Everyone has done IIT, they've gone through the same education. So what will be the differentiation? It is this attitude, right? So if I am having a team of 50 people, I'll not pick up the brightest, but I'll pick up the most reliable person. If I have to make an proposal, or if I have to make an presentation, I'll go to a guy who I believe, without follow-up, will give me the best results. So I think this attitude and soft skills or sanskar that we were talking about are more important, given that, the education is the primary base. Yeah, thank you.
I just wanted to add to him, to what Mr. Seth mentioned, is that when we look at, from corporates, when we look at recruiting, I think we look at it like a triangle. It's like a triangle. You have knowledge, skills, and attitude. Knowledge is something which you have developed over the years. Skills is something which you can keep on developing. And attitude is something which is non-compromisable. So that becomes that clincher of how to go forward, how you will go forward. Yeah, thank you.
My question to you.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, panelists are. As we can hear, there are a lot of things going between government and business owners. News are coming like government is not supporting new business owners, or what I can say is SME, small scale business owners, due to a lot of policies or taxation and all. So my question is to Amit sir, how was your experience dealing with SBI for getting metro project?
So I think, the best thing that can happen to IT industry is that there is no government policy intervention, right? And we are what we are as an industry is because there is no intervention. Having said that, let me allay the fears. I think and I don't want to sound political, but the current thinking is hugely encouraging business. So there is a lot of emphasis on growth of entrepreneurship, so startup development, and there is a lot of impetus given on startup development. There is lot of SME credit that is available. See, India as a nation cannot grow unless SMEs grow, because SME today will contribute to 40% of our economy. And if we are talking of doubling the economy in next 5 years, we are talking of $2.5 trillion. And if you look at any major economy of the world, right, SMEs will contribute about 60%. So we are talking of SMEs growing from a $1 trillion to at least $2.5 to $3 trillion in next 5 years. And there is a lot of emphasis and policy framework that is available for growth for SMEs in this country.
Thank you. It's a very good question. I must say that government is focusing a lot of initiatives for MSMEs. As Mr. Seth said, MSME is the lifeline and backbone of any organization. Yes, there could be some issues, but you must understand it's always a working process. Government is very flexible and changes. I must say, especially CIL and other industry associations, whenever we have an issue in MSME, because 70% of the members of these associations are MSME, we take it up with government and government addresses. There could be some time lag because they have to listen to many of them. The latest policy I will inform you. The company's law is amended, Corporate Affairs Ministry. Earlier, around 2 weeks back, a small scale industry was up to 2 crores of paid up capital and up to 20 crores of investment turnover. When issues came up and definition changes were there, when turnover was brought also into the definition of MSME, apart from the investment in plant and production, they understood there are some issues coming up because from 1 crore up to 250 crore, MSME is defined. So it is not possible to attend to all the issues. And I must say, CII has taken, personally, me and through CII's various associations, we have taken up over the last 18 months, government last month changed this definition in order to help small industries. And small industries in MSME contributes 98% of the MSMEs. So it's a working process government addresses. That's where I say that MSMEs is the backbone and there is always support. Certainly there will be some issues which are pockets we are addressing. That's where the role of CII, FICCI or other industry associations come. Not only other small industries also take. So you can be rest assured, be an entrepreneur. We need entrepreneurship in the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, sir. Any more questions? Yes, there's one question there at the back.
Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Dr. Sagar Gaikwad. I'm faculty member here. I just want to add what Amit sir has said. He said that he faces lots of difficulty when he go for the placement. But students, okay, we have this for the employability. Okay, so we have immense potential in each sector. Throughout the discussion, we have discussed that we have potential in AI, ML. Okay, so definitely we'll get the job. But whenever you are selecting a job, look for a satisfaction rather than money. So in the first we said I want to be an entrepreneur to make a money. So don't be behind those materialistic facts. Look for the satisfaction, and then only the prosperity and all the endeavor will be successful. So that's just an addition. It was not a question. Just an addition to what sir has said.
Sure. Thank you. I think there was somebody who raised the hand there. Yes, please. And in the interest of time, this will be the last question. You can interact and reach out to any of the panelists later. Yes.
My question is open for all the panelists. How will India become the $5 trillion economy by 2027?
Between the two of you, that's why I've kept the mic here.
I think it's simple maths. There is no rocket science to it. If we are looking at, 8% growth, and so real growth will become 13%, and just by maths, it is possible. So I think achieving 8% growth is not difficult at all. There are huge opportunities that are available to the country, and so if we take instance of our organization, right, there is enough and more to grow. What is limiting us is getting people to essentially address the opportunity. Similarly, we are probably, India is so if you look at the macro environment, right, every organization, especially post-COVID, there is China plus one in almost every industry that is coming across, especially in manufacturing. So service sectors, I'm sure, there is huge potential and it is growing, but this time around, India has an opportunity to also grow in the manufacturing sector. So I think it will be not at all difficult to grow at this pace that is required to become a $5 trillion opportunity. Thank you.
Obviously.
Just to speak for you, all of them mentioned about attitude and your mindset and all that. How do you get that? Just one formula is there called FIB. Fire in the belly. The moment you have fire in the belly, that's what the industry wants. And that's what fire in the belly. So remind, if 1.35, that's the population, right, billion, the fires happen, what will happen? The world will become just India all over. Right? So have the fire in the belly, you have the answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that, Dr. Rao. And before I end, I must thank all the panelists here for sparing your time on a Saturday and coming and sharing your views with at this auditorium. Thank you, Dr. Rao, for having us all over. Thank you, Dr. Nandakumar. And a big thanks and applause to Vidya Lankar Group for having us all here. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. I'm sure you all would agree that it was a very thought-provoking session. Yes, students? Okay. A lot of takeaways. Networking, being thankful, being kind, mental health, participate in all activities, be fearless. So a big thank you to the coordinator, a thank you to the moderator, the chief guest, guest of honor, and all the panelists. Thank you.